Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today I'm back with a video that I thought I had already made, and maybe I did. I'm just getting hazy and buzzy in my old age. But what I'm going to be talking about today is I'm going to be showing off the complete runs of both Sinister House of Secret Love and Dark Mansion of Forbidden Love. Talk a little bit about Gothic romances. Again, I thought I had done this video, but when I was going through my videos, I couldn't find it, so I thought, whatever, I'll just do it again. Maybe it'll be more interesting this time. I've showed off some of my complete romance runs before. These are two small ones, and what I'm going to focus on here a little bit more than perhaps in the past are the 5th issues of each run. Now, most people who collect these or know about them know that they only ran 4 issues. But there is actually a 5th issue, because with each title, with issue 5, they changed title and supposedly went to a pure horror format. However, in both cases, the 5th issue of the Gothic romance format was already complete when they made this decision. So issue 5 is actually the same as the first 4. It's Gothic romance, extra long, super long features, and it doesn't begin the classic like DC anthology horror stuff until issue 6. So if you collect these, you want to make sure you get issue 5 of both runs, because they are secretly Gothic romance. So let's just start with Sinister House of Secret Love. Here's number 1. I love the cover. It says, What was the secret behind the curse of the McIntyres? The mad stranger wanted Rachel's love or her life. Great Gothic romance cover. So, talked a little bit about this in the past, but there was sort of a movement happening at that time. Dark Shadows was one of the biggest shows on TV. A lot of Gothic romance, and so this was a big thing. And so DC tried to tap into that with these 2 books, which sadly only lasted 5 issues. Here's issue 2, Sinister House of Secret Love. And these comics are filled with, again, extra long stories, all the stuff you would expect from Gothic romance. So there's a little bit of like black magic hinted around, a lot of like spooky castles, and women going to these places, and then there's like mysterious like noblemen and family curses and murders and stuff like that. This one says on the cover, what dark evil compelled Sarah to renounce the man she loved and begin her perilous journey to wed the devil? A graphic novel of Gothic terror. This is one of the earliest, I think, uses of the term graphic novel, which is interesting to see that, because this is from 1971. Technically 72. It's cover dated January 72, but it came out in 71. Here's issue 3, which I showed off in a previous video. I have a horribly ratty copy. Sinister House of Secret Love 3. Now, I like, in particular, they were trying to make these look like romance novel covers with the oval, just the design, besides the image. This one says, Kathy knew she would die unless she discovered what secret curse prevented her from becoming the Bride of the Falcon. And as I went over in some detail in the previous video where I showed this, this is a full-length Alex Toth art, with Vince Colletta inking, but it's still, you can still tell the Alex Tothness of it all. It has a great story by Frank Robbins, and it's just top notch. And here's issue 4. Now with issue 4, we get a new logo that only lasts for this one single issue. I really like the design of this with the white border. Another, bride in white, another haunted house. This one sort of like a tower or a cathedral of some kind, coming up behind the logo and out of the frame. There's a weird figure in a cape who may be a priest or maybe an astronaut. I don't know. It's a little hard to tell. The graveyard, these creepy monsters, the mood of it all. It's so great. And just in general, I've talked about this before, but the DC 52 big pages and the 48 big pages, my favorite design era in comics. Absolutely love this. And I love the Marvel 20-cent frame covers that were coming out at the same time. So 1972, great time for comic design. Absolutely love it. This is great. And so here we have issue 5. So as I mentioned, these weren't selling that well. They decided to go to make it more horror and drop the romance angle because they figured they would be able to sell better as a pure horror. But since the stuff was already done, the interior of this and the cover are both still the Gothic horror. So you can kind of just ignore this where it says Secrets of Sinister House and just pretend that it still says Sinister House of Secret Love. You can see in this issue 4, they've changed the logo to emphasize the Sinister House and de-emphasize the love part. You can barely see it there. And here they just drop it, but the interior is still the same. And this one in particular, I think, is a really interesting mix of creators. So the writing team is a person by the name of Lynn Marin, I'm not familiar with, but I did a little bit of looking. They've done some novels and stuff. They did some work in comics at this time, particularly on Vampirella. Lynn Marin co-writing this Gothic romance story is Michael Fleischer. So we get this early 70s Fleischer. This would have been just before he starts. Sorry, I had an unexpected interruption, but what I was saying was, so this is 72. It's just before we get Michael Fleischer's classic run writing The Spectre. So, definitely he's got that horror element, but you don't expect him to have the romance, right? And then you have the art team, which is one of I don't think this is unique. I'm sure they must have done other stuff together, but it seems kind of like a wild combination to me because the art team is Mike Sikowski on pencils with Dick Giordano on the inks. And so, their styles are just about as opposite to me as you can get. Sikowski's has the blockiness and the blacks, and Giordano has like the smooth, fine line work, and just the total contrast. And so I'm trying to find some good examples on the pages here of what you end up with, because you can see both of them at work. Like if you look at this panel here, up here, you can see the Sikowski sort of art, but Giordano's doing his work on like the figure of the woman in particular. It's just some really great art. I'm a fan of Sikowski. He's a bit of an acquired taste, especially this era. Earlier Sikowski is a different thing, but once you get into the late 60s and he's inking himself usually, and he's really much more free than he was, in the 50s and early 60s. But so I'm a fan, and it's just a really interesting mix of art styles going on here. Sometimes it leans more towards Sikowski than it does towards Giordano, but you can still see the Giordano work in it. This is very Sikowski. But anyway, so must have for Gothic romance fans, issue 5 of both of these titles. All right, and here is Dark Mansion of Forbidden Love. Here's issue 1. As you can see, I have it in a CGC 5.0. I'm not sure why they had this graded to begin with. It's clearly, first of all, it clearly hasn't been pressed. There's some obvious damage on the back cover. There's a tear here, and then there's just sort of like thumb bend wrinkling all along the cover. There's also some creasing along the spine here. It doesn't take much to know that this is not going to get a good grade. I'm perfectly happy with it as a 5. It's actually nicer than most of the copies I have of all of these. And the fact that it's a CGC 5, I think I actually got it cheaper than if it was a raw 5, because like for a book, for a 70s book of this stature, having it in a CGC 5, I think it's kind of a negative. Like, people expect them to be higher grade if you're going to get a CGC copy. So it wasn't very much money for me. I needed any copy, and so it was just easier for me to get this one. Here's issue 2. Love the covers on these. They're so great, so just classic. Just classic. This one says, "A nightmare begins for Ellen Drew after her marriage to David. Who is the strange man holding her prisoner in a honeymoon of fear?" You can see someone paid only 12 cents for this. Now that seems like a bargain. Great. Great. Here's issue 3, cover by Jeffrey Catherine Jones. And all of the covers they did are worth getting. Wish they'd done a lot more work in comics. This one says, "He came to her in the blackness of the night. Did he bring love or the kiss of death?" Could be both. It's got it all. It's got the bats flying above him in the moon. It's got the haunted church or whatever down here. The woman running through the field at night to escape Vampire Man. So good. Here's another poor bride. Although this one's more of a murder mystery. This is sort of a classic. And as is the next one is even more. But the Dark Mansion of Forbidden Love. Again, the logo here has switched emphasis. So again, we have a logo that only is around for one single issue, because here's the old logo, Dark Mansion of Forbidden Love, and this is Dark Mansion of Forbidden Love. An evil out of the past claims victim after victim in the ancient house. Will Suzanne be next? A kiss from the grave! This guy's got the kiss of death. This guy's got a kiss from the grave. I don't know. I would suggest it's probably safer just to not kiss any of these guys. They put a lot of work into the text on this gravestone, and it says, Lady Rosamund Missenden. Born 1085 Anno Domini. I don't know if that's how you say it. Deceased 1145 AD. Gone to her reward. And then quotes, evilly murdered, but now at peace. I don't know if you needed to put that on the gravestone. I don't know, just me. Alright, and finally is issue 5. Okay, again, just like the other one, Gothic Romance, we have a new logo. This is going to be the logo, the title of the book going forward. Forbidden Tales of Dark Mansion. And great bride going down the staircase with the candle. There's a guy with a noose, but a classic cover of this type. And we have another murder mystery, classic house murder mystery. It says 6 people trapped on an island. One of them was a murderer. But which one? Judith had to find out or die. They all came to die. Dun dun. Okay. And so this one, this is actually a pretty tight copy that I have here. It's one of my nicer ones for sure. And this is written by Jack Olek, art by Don Heck. Now, this is not the only one of these that features Don Heck art. And I'm a fan of Don Heck. I particularly I think he works better with non-superhero stuff. But here's a great splash page, the noose framing the woman, and then you see the shadow of, she doesn't realize the guy's behind her, but there's a shadow of an assailant there. And this is exactly what it says. There's people invited to this island. Judith Fremont, you are a murderess, and the penalty for murder is death. You will not leave Craig Island alive. And they've all gotten notes like this. Oh, Frank, I got one too. Mine accuses me of murder. So does mine. There is a note for each of us. Carl, there's a note for us too, on the sideboard. Someone knows. Yeah. So this one, but it still has the romance elements. It's still a Gothic romance, right? So like, here's where the guy who she's having an angry conversation with kisses her, because that's how love works. Here she is kissing some other guy a few pages later. So it's still got all the elements of the Gothic romance. The only thing that's different is it dropped love from the title. But anyway, that's just a little tour through these two great 5-issue series. Everyone should get all 5 of these. I did want to mention real quick, there's another Gothic horror romance, a Gothic romance series that I'm collecting, which is Charlton's Haunted Love. That ran 11 issues, I think. I don't have all of them yet. I have most of them, but I don't have all of them. So once I finish them, I will be doing a video where I show all of the issues of that series, because that's a great series with some amazing covers. There's two other titles, though, that I don't have any of for the Gothic Romance Completists, and those were magazines. In 1975, Marvel did a black and white romance comic magazine called Gothic Love Stories. And I've never seen either of these things I'm talking about in person before. I've never seen any of them. They're very expensive if you can find them online. Very expensive. The same is also true for Atlas Seaboard. Did one, I think only one issue, maybe 2, but I think one. It's called Gothic Romances. Again, it's a black and white comic magazine size, like Savage Sword of Conan or Vampirella sort of thing. Again, mid-70s, and incredibly hard to find. If you find them online, all of these are like hundreds of dollars. So those are things I'm always keeping an eye out for whenever I go to stores, or comic book stores or antique stores or a bookstore or used bookstores. I'm always looking for those. I've never ever seen any of them, and so those are sort of up there with my hard to find romance. I don't want to say grails, because since they're not comic size, I don't collect the magazines as much. But it's the same as there's this oversized romance comic from 1967 called Maud Love, which is very hard to find. And so I'm always keeping an eye out for those, but I've never found those. So, but for the Gothic Romance Completists, you want to look out for those magazines. But that's it. Again, sorry if I'm repeating myself. I swear I did this video once before. I don't know what happened to it. So now it's back. It's back, and I'm guessing, I have more knowledge and more lived experience this time than last time, so hopefully it's more interesting than last time. But let me know what you think down below, and I'll see you next time.